So welcome to our final video production workshop. This is the one I am so excited about, and this is advanced editing techniques for Adobe Premiere Rush. Now, don't worry if you missed Monday's workshop, because I've already edited the introduction to Adobe Premiere Rush portion of that workshop, and it's on YouTube. The link is in this slide, and we'll also put that in the chat for you. I've also almost completely finished editing the workshops from this series, and we've got the playlist link there as well. So I'm really happy everyone is here today. This is going to be a great opportunity to, again, get a look at Adobe Premiere Rush, no matter what your comfort level is, and then you can always revisit those older workshop videos. And again, if you don't know if you're ready for advanced editing, still, I'm really glad you're here. I'm one of those people where I love just watching those YouTube tutorial videos for software that I have no idea how to use, just to like get familiar with it and see. And it's like, oh, that doesn't look so difficult. So I'm going to kind of be going through how I edit workshop videos or how I edit Zoom videos, since I figure that will be very helpful to a lot of our faculty who maybe are creating their own lecture videos over Zoom. So let's jump right in. As always, I've got to put in the how do you download Adobe Creative Cloud slide. If you've been able to join us for the other workshops, you know that Adobe Premiere Rush is part of the Adobe Creative Cloud suite, which all UCI faculty, staff, and students have access to. We've got the instructions on this slide to request a license from OIT. It might take a day or so for them to approve the license. You'll get an email from them after you download the license, and then you'll be able to download Adobe Premiere Rush and any of the other Creative Cloud programs you may want to use, like Photoshop, After Effects, InDesign. Especially if you're going into advanced editing, I really love Adobe Photoshop. It's a really easy way for me to create background template images or other images, or maybe even little add-ons. If I want to add some visual flair to a video, I can really quickly create maybe like a partially transparent image in Photoshop, and then just throw that image into Adobe Premiere Rush to use. Why do you want to enhance your videos? We've talked a lot about just why do you want to create lecture videos and the benefits of that, the long-term usability of those videos. And on Monday, I showed you how to quickly clean up and edit a recorded video in Adobe Premiere Rush. But hopefully if you're here, you're looking to add that little bit of visual flair, you're looking to enhance your videos. And the benefit of doing this is it makes your videos more visually interesting, to make your students more engaged with the content. You, again, can continue to improve your videos. You can take a video maybe you already edited and then continue to add on little pieces as time goes on. Or maybe if you find a new graphic or a new kind of cool thing and you're like, oh, this would work great in this lecture that I recorded last year, you can take that edited video and add in that new piece. And again, the more you kind of finesse and work with these videos, the longer you can use these in your class. And again, once then you've created your video, you don't need to re-record it again. It might take a little time up front, but then you get to keep using that class after class. And as I've mentioned before, videos I edited almost 10 years ago at the start of my UCI career are still being used. They're still really high quality. And so those instructors never had to re-record those videos. They've gotten almost 10 years of usability out of them. And some of the advanced editing techniques that you're going to want to use, and you don't have to use all of these, but when you're looking to edit a video and you want to add that little extra oomph, some of the options you have is to add an animated intro or an outro, in which case in Adobe Premiere Rush, there are a lot of pre-made, really cool animated intros that you just drag and drop onto your video. They're really cool. Editing between different video tracks, as I talked about, if you record your Zoom lectures to the cloud and have Zoom record your shared screen and your webcam separately, then when you're editing, it makes it a lot easier to be able to go full screen on slides, full screen on webcam. It allows you the flexibility to kind of break up your video visually and choose what you want your students to see. You can add music or sound effects to make it a little more fun. B-roll, other graphics. We talked about resources before, clips that you can download online to maybe add, again, that extra bit of video or that extra bit of visual flair to your videos. And Sherry Selgren's wonderful video where she sourced some really cool B-roll clips to put on top of a video when she thought maybe a slide was getting a little too boring. You can put in an image and then maybe animate it, give it that Ken Burns effect where it zooms in a little bit just to kind of keep it interesting. Text pop-ups, you can highlight portions of your screen after the fact. These are some really easy, cool things to do, and they're all capable in Adobe Premiere Rush. So what I want to demonstrate for you today is how to take a Zoom recording and put it into kind of a template format. And this will be kind of the basis of if you then want to really get into adding new things to your videos. But you can see I've got a screenshot here that is last Thursday's workshop. I'm wearing the same shirt even. But what I did is I had Zoom record 2 separate video tracks. I have my webcam track and my shared screen track. So this means when I'm editing in Premiere, I can independently affect what the size of each of these are, what I want on the screen. So if I want to just show my face, it's really easy to make that webcam bigger. And I put everything on just a nice UCI secondary blue color map that has our logo on it, something I created really quickly in Photoshop. But again, it makes it not look so much like a Zoom recording, because with the Zoom recordings, you'll have just a lot of like the black around your video or underneath your webcam, or it maybe isn't the most visual thing. Sometimes I get frustrated because when I'm sharing a screen and recording in Zoom, if I don't have the tracks separate, the webcam video is so tiny in the corner, you can barely see the speaker, and it almost like is a strain on my eyes when I'm trying to see like who's talking right now. So I've kind of developed a template that gives me a little more flexibility, and I can choose how the content is presented. And what I did for this lecture or for this workshop video, the techniques I used was I cleaned up the audio a little bit. Again, I'm using multiple video tracks. So I've got a background image and some video feed. The color mat is my background. If I need to replace a slide, I actually caught a slide where I had made a typo. And so I was able to replace that with a new slide in editing so that no one going onto YouTube is going to see my little mistake. I can crop. So a lot of times when I'm recording my lectures, as you can see right now, you actually are seeing the top of my web browser as well, just the way I'm presenting in Google Slides. It's not completely full screen. So in post-production, I crop out that top gray area up here so you don't have to see the little advanced strategies tab. And then I can add text and graphics. And just as a quick refresher, hopefully everyone who was able to join us on Monday can still remember a little bit about the Premiere Rush layout when you open it up. But just to remind everyone, this is your main Premiere Rush editing screen, and there are 3 main components to it. Your media bin, which again is your big folder where you're going to throw all the pieces you could possibly want to use into your video. The timeline, which is your actual like little workstation desk where you take things out of the media bin and move them around and cut them up and layer them on top of each other. And the preview window, which shows what your video is going to look like. This is where you can kind of see, okay, I'm putting all these pieces together. What is it going to look like when I'm done? And we also mentioned these buttons up in the upper right-hand corner, the effects panel. We didn't talk too much about those because that is getting more into advanced editing techniques, but we're definitely going to use them today for this workshop. So these are your effects buttons. When you click on one, it'll open a new menu of effects options for you to use. When you click it again, it'll close it. And what these panels are, the first one with the little T is your graphics panel. So anytime you want to add some graphics like some text or an animated intro or an animated transition, anything with that, this panel is going to give you all those really cool options to modify your text and your graphics. You have an effects panel, which is going to be for transitions, like if you want to put a dissolve between 2 clips, or you have an image and you want to give it that cool, like slow Ken Burns zoom into part of the image. That's really easy to do with the effects panel. It's literally a button you turn on. There's the color panel, which if you're just doing Zoom recordings, you're probably not going to need. This is more for if you were recording a really kind of raw flat image and you wanted to maybe bump up the colors in your video or make something monochrome. That's the color panel. You have a speed panel, and this is actually if you want to adjust the speed of a video clip. In one of the breakout rooms last week, we actually talked about, someone had a question about wanting to show something in slow motion in a lecture video that they were making. And so if you, I think most instructors have smartphones. I know not everyone does, but that is becoming a really common tool everyone has. And most smartphones have a video recording ability where you can record in slow motion. So if you want to show like something like a pendulum swinging really slowly, you could record that with your phone, put it into Premiere Rush, and then with the speed panel, you can drag out that clip so it plays in that really cool slow motion effect. Next is the audio panel again, which is very important because I always recommend doing just a little bit of cleanup on all your audio to make sure that it sounds nice and easy to hear, and make sure that Yuja is going to have a much easier time generating your auto captions. And lastly is the transform effect. And this is probably one of the ones I use the most, especially when I'm working with templates, because this is how you're going to kind of adjust the size of your video pieces. This is how you can crop. This is how you can make certain video pieces big or small or change their position. And again, this may sound like a lot, but what you're going to see shortly once I go into the demo is that Premiere Rush works really intuitively. And while you can use some of these keys to type in exactly the position, a lot of Premiere Rush works with just clicking and grabbing and dragging. So your mouse becomes like your hands on top of your workstation, and it makes it really easy to just grab and pull and resize and put things where you want. So in the screen you see here, this is actually a screenshot from Monday's workshop that I edited, and you'll see this full screenshot in the YouTube video that's up on the channel. But in this screenshot, there are actually 4 layers or 4 pieces in this image. And Premiere Rush does allow you to work with up to 4 video tracks. Each of those video tracks can have audio attached. And then it also gives you 3 additional audio tracks for if you want to do sound effects or music or whatnot. But you are limited at 4, but you can do a lot with 4 video tracks. So I want to kind of show you exactly what the different layers of this template I created are. So first is the background image that I mentioned, this UCI kind of secondary blue with the logo. And it's an image that looks like this. This is what I created. It's just a solid color with our logo at the bottom. And that's going to be the very bottom layer of my video. On top of that, I put my shared screen. And again, because I had Zoom record my shared screen and my webcam separately, this is its own video. Next, I have my webcam, and the webcam layer I have on top of my shared screen layer, but because they're not overlapping, it doesn't really matter what order they go in. I'm just talking about the order of the layers because it kind of is like a workstation. When you put something on top of another layer, it's going to either cover that layer up or obscure part of that layer, but those two aren't touching, so they're not affecting each other. And lastly, I added a graphic to this video. One thing I didn't realize in Monday's workshop was that although when I shared my screen, I was sharing my sound, Premiere Rush was only outputting sound to my headphones. I needed to specifically tell Premiere Rush to send audio to the Zoom recording. So while I thought everyone could hear my video, they could not, and the sound of that wasn't recorded. So I put in just a little text pop-up in post-production saying like, hey, this is what happened. Since I didn't know what was going on at that point. And in the timeline for this video, it's going to look like this. So when you're working with these multiple pieces, which if you're getting into advanced editing, you're definitely going to have multiple tracks, but you can kind of now see what that looks like on your workstation. On my bottom layer, my first video track, I have that image. My next video track is my shared screen. On top of that, I put my webcam, and then any additional graphics I have on my top video track. So it really is just this layering effect when you want to build these really cool videos. And that top video 4 track, that's where I'll put graphics. If I wanted to replace a slide, that's where I'd put the new slide. If I wanted to add a B-roll clip afterwards, that's where I'd put the B-roll clip. So that's kind of like the cherry on top of the cake, or the cupcake, or what you will. So we're going to get into Premiere Rush really quickly. I just wanted to remind everyone, these are the main shortcuts you're going to need, and these are still the main shortcuts I'm going to use in my demonstration. The split clip or add edit is going to be your S key. When we want to play and pause our video, it's going to be the space bar. When we want to zoom in and out of our timeline, we're going to use the plus and minus keys. So those are still going to be the most important keys, even with these advanced editing techniques. So I'm going to stop sharing my PowerPoint slides. So then let's go in and let's edit a video together. I'm going to open Rush and I'm going to start a completely new project. So just like we did on Monday, I'm going to hit this create a new project button. And it's going to bring up my full computer of folders and documents and everything I have. I created a folder for today's workshop since I'm going to edit Monday's lecture, which is the B3 lecture of this series. And I am going to select, here's our speaker, our webcam view, and our shared screen view. And when I downloaded these from Zoom, I renamed them so I know what they were. Because when you download them, it just wants to give you like G and the date and a string of letters. And that's, again, where it can get confusing. So when I downloaded them, I made sure to change them to B3 shared screen and B3 speaker, just so I knew what I was working with. So I'm going to hit create. It's going to prepare media. Oh, and I realize I put in the wrong track. So I'm actually going to delete that because even I can still make mistakes, and I had a little bit of an issue downloading the speaker view or the shared screen view the first time. So let me navigate and find the correct. There we go. It's going to import. All right, I'm gonna hit the minus key to zoom out. Okay, these two clips look like they're the same length, but I also have not grabbed that background image yet. I need to still grab my background image. So I'm going to navigate, because I know I had put that in a separate folder. Someone had the question of if you need to put all of your video pieces into one folder to be able to then put them into Rush. This is why the answer is no. You can navigate all over your computer, grab files from wherever they may be. So if you realize like, oh, I used an image in a different class and that's in a different folder and I really want to use it in this video, you can still just navigate through all of your files to find that piece. So where did I put, oh, there's my workshop background, and I'm going to add. All right, so now if I go to my media bin, I've got all my pieces, I've got my sequence. Now the way I usually will edit in Premiere Rush, because when you import footage, it wants to just throw it immediately in the timeline. But sometimes that can actually make things a little more difficult when I want to instead build a template with things on top of each other. So I'm actually going to just start off and I'm going to delete everything from my template. So I just have a nice clean slate. And now I'm going to start building those layers in the order I want them. So I'm going to first add that background image. And it's only going to be, you can see it's playing for less than 5 seconds. I'm going to need it for much longer. That's not going to be sufficient. So I'm going to just click, and when I hover over the clip, my cursor turns into this little caret, and I can drag. So I'm just going to drag him and just make him a little bit bigger. I know I'm going to need him bigger than that, but this will just make it a little easier for me to see. The next thing I want in my layer is going to be that shared screen. So that was shared screen here. I also like that in Premiere Rush, it tells you the length of your clip. So you can see here, this clip is 1 hour and 11 minutes. This clip is 1 hour and 11 minutes. So I know that these are the two I want to use because it's still showing me this one I imported accidentally that my computer crashed at about 20 minutes, or my internet cut off at about 20 minutes of trying to download it. So it didn't download all the way. And that is, of course, always a consideration, especially when we're working from home with our own Wi-Fi, that, you know, sometimes it's best to do things at night when there's a little more free bandwidth. So I'm going to now add that piece. And now if I click and hold and pull it up, as you can see, it's now creating a new track. So I'm going to release it. And now what I can do is I can grab that. And if I click and hold, I'm going to drag it to the beginning of my timeline. And now I'm going to hit the minus key and I'm going to zoom out until I can see that full clip. So I can see the full length of my video. And now I'm going to click and I'm going to drag this color image all the way to the end. About right there. So now I have 2 tracks, but as you can see, the video track is really big. It's covering up the entire image. And another tip I would have, if you're going to be editing with multiple tracks, there's a little button on the side down here that says control tracks. And if I hit that, now it's actually showing me a little more of my video tracks. And it also gives me some options. I can hide a video track, so I'm not deleting it. I'm just quickly toggling it off in my preview window or toggle it on, or I can lock a track. And if I lock a track, that means I can't affect it. So actually what I'm gonna wanna do is lock this bottom track because I might, need to move this video around or the video on top, but I don't think I'm going to need to affect that bottom track. So if I lock it, now I know I can't accidentally mess with it. So now I'm going to just add my third track, which is my speaker track. I'm going to add that. Oh, and I guess it makes me unlock V1. So let's add that because it wants to add it to V1, but I'm going to pull that. I'm going to pull that up another one, and now it's already created a new track. And I can just drag it over. Let me zoom out and drag it over here. And again, the nice thing, if you have Zoom record these different video tracks, they're still going to be exactly the same length. So when you put one on top of the other, they'll be perfectly synced. You don't have to worry about like, oh no, is the audio from my webcam track not going to match up with my shared screen track? But they're going to snap into place. And so I always recommend this workflow. Because again, when you're editing in this way, think about what the edits you want to make are, because the more complicated you go, the more like little edits you go, like switching between screens, you're going to want to do that after you've built the foundation of your template. You kind of want to think of, what do I need to do first? What do I want to affect my entire video with? Like the template, I want my entire video to start out that way. And then I'll decide maybe when I want to cut the tracks. Or if I want to adjust the audio, I want to do that before I start cutting things. Because if I start cutting a track, and I forgot to maybe, do a little noise reduction over here in my audio panel. Well, now if I've already cut the track before, maybe I needed to reduce the background noise, it's only going to affect this little clip. Now I need to do the same thing to this clip. But let me undo my cut. If I take the full clip and then I reduce background noise, it's going to affect that entire clip. And now as I go through and I start cutting, what I just did is going to stay on both clips. So it's kind of this buildup you want to think of what do you want to affect the entire clip, what do you want to affect the entire video, and then just as you build up, what then do you want to just do a little portion of. But I haven't finished building my template, so let me hit Command Z just to undo that cut. And now when I'm building a template, the first thing, the biggest thing to do is going to be your transform right here, the little one on the bottom that says crop and rotate. So if I click that, it's going to open up that menu. If I click it again, it's going to turn that menu off. And what this means, I love that there's this option in the middle called scale, and it has maintain proportions turned on. And scale really means I've got this video and it's really big, and I want to scale it down. I don't want my webcam the full view of the video the entire time. So if I grab one of these little toggles, I can start pulling it. And you see it's going to affect the width and the height together. So it's maintaining proportions. So this is how I'll first grab that webcam track and make it small. And now while you could then change its position with these toggles up here, you can also now just click on your preview window. And when you click on it, you see it kind of brings up this little border with these little dots. Now I can just click and hold and drag my video, and I can also scale it with the 4 little corner dots. I can click and drag and scale it. And so when I said before that it does become kind of intuitive because it is like just putting your hands on and taking your pieces and moving them around with your mouse, it really does work like that. I can maybe just click, drag that, make Dr. Wong small, and click and hold, and just drag that video piece up into the corner. But I'm still not seeing my background, my blue track, this first one down at the bottom, and that's because my slides are still really big. So now I'm going to affect those. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click the slides. And remember, you want to make sure that you have the clip you want to work with highlighted. So when I was using the video clip, I had selected my video track, and then I could click and move the video around. But now I want to affect the slide track. So I need to make sure I've got the orange box around my slide track in my timeline. And now I already have the transform window up. And since I have that selected, now when I do maintain proportions, it's going to affect the slide view. And now I'm going to click and drag that. And I had mentioned before, just the way that I had been presenting my slides, I've got a lot of kind of dead space around my slides that I don't want to show. And so down here, right under maintain proportions, you have this crop feature where I can, just using these toggles again, drag down the top. And this is also helpful if you've got that unwanted information. If, for example, you were showing maybe your full desktop and you had some icons on your desktop you don't maybe want to show, or some information on a note you don't want to show, you can use the crop tool in that transform to really just crop into your slides or hide a portion of your video track. All right, so I've cropped it. Now it looks kind of small, but I can once again either use maintain proportions or just still click and drag these little circles on the side. And I'm just gonna work through and kind of adjust how I want my screen to look. So maybe I want my slides a little bigger, and now I don't like the way my webcam is positioned. So I'm going to maybe click on that and scale that down and drag that over here. And the template's done now. So as you can see, it's affected the entire video, no matter where I click in my timeline and have my playhead follow. It's now maintained that I cropped the slides, that I moved the webcam. So if you just were really happy with your video, but you wanted to put it into a template, it would be ready to export now. These would be all the steps you'd need to do. However, there were times maybe where I was talking and I don't want to show my slides. Like maybe when when I was showing my intro slide, maybe I don't want that shown. I want to go full screen. I want to go full screen on my webcam so I can address my audience. And now this is where we're going to start using that edit key, those scissors, to kind of start cutting and arranging the different pieces we want in terms of what content are we seeing, what content are we not. So if I go back, and again, I can use the zoom key to zoom in. If I want to start advancing my video one frame at a time, it's just the arrow keys. So if I was maybe back here and I want to get that very first frame where I'm showing my slide, I can really zoom in and use those arrow keys. So right there, then if I hit the split clip key, I'm gonna now just highlight the shared screen, hit split clip again, and maybe, let's see, oh, and that's where, and now I wanna go back to my template when I'm sharing this why do you wanna edit videos slide, but I don't wanna show my shared screen when I'm showing just that title slide. So I just kind of position the playhead roughly around where I wanna go. And then I'm just going to advance right there. That's where I wanna go back to my template. So I'm gonna hit the S key again, highlight my webcam, hit the S key. So now I've taken those scissors and I've cut these two tracks. So what I can do now is I can actually just delete the shared screen track, grab my and just scale my video up. And so now when I play my video, advance a little more, and then it'll go back. So that's a really easy way to have this template set and then go between showing either full screen slides or full screen webcam, because then you just need to take your scissors, make your cuts, delete the feed you don't want shown. So I didn't want my shared screen feed shown during that point. I was able to just delete it and then zoom in and scale up my webcam feed. And it'll still be a nice high resolution, because when Zoom is recording the two separate tracks, it records a high resolution version of your webcam, the entire presentation. And I know I'm running short on time, so the last thing I wanted to show, just as a little teaser to some of the amazing things you're going to see Julia Lupton show in just a moment, is the text panel or your graphics panel. So if I hit this, it comes up with this graphics panel. If I hit add graphic over here, and when I talked about that there are a lot of different animations built into Adobe Premiere Rush, these are what I was talking about. There are so many of these pre-made animations that you can really quickly add to your video. I think you have titles, you have overlays, you have transitions. I want to see if there's an overlay that I want to use. And this is where you can also get lost. There's so many little just fun drag and drop pieces. I was looking specifically for when I played with it earlier. The call out. I like the call out text just in case I want to draw attention to a certain part of the video, or if anyone remembers like pop-up video from MTV back in the 90s where they'd show a music video, little fun facts would pop up on screen. That's what I kind of think of when I use these. So if I wanted to add a call out, like maybe I was talking about this 5 steps to edit a video and I didn't mention something important that I wanted to, I don't necessarily want to go back and put on the same clothes and re-record that slide and then try to fit it in. I'm just going to add a little call out to the audience saying like, hey, don't forget this little tip. So I'm going to click the call out button. I'm going to add it. And now if I zoom in, it should add that right to where my playhead was. And it did. So now you can see on video track 4, that top track where we want to add our graphics, it's added this little call out and it's actually animated. It's going to fade in. And now I've got a lot of options on my graphics panel. So everything I want to affect is going to be in here, meaning I can, if I double click on the text inside, I can change the text to say, don't forget to rename your video. I can change the shape, or I can change the color of the text box. So if I don't like that orange, or if I'm using a certain color scheme with my class, I can just pick a different color. I can change the circle, I can change the lines. So all of the colors and all of kind of the little effects of these graphics are all adjustable in your graphics panel. So if you look at one and you're like, oh, I really like this graphic, but I hate those colors, or I hate the way that it dissolves in, you can change those. It's all really easy, but the basic animation is built in. And then if I go to my transform panel, I should be able to drag it. I can scale it down. I can move it around. And if I need this to stay up longer for the duration of the slide, like all of our clips, I can make sure I have the clip selected, hover over it, and adjust how long it's going to play. I can drag it and slide it over and adjust where it plays in my video. So I know this was a really quick just demonstration of these advanced editing techniques. I wanted everyone to kind of just get their feet wet looking at what it's going to kind of look like if you want to implement these in your own videos. And the more you practice with it, the quicker you'll pick it up. So I know I've gone a little bit over my time, but we started from scratch and we built a complete template and we added a little call out in about 10 minutes. And if that's all I need to do, I'm now ready to export my video. And I think it looks a little nicer than if I had just taken that raw Zoom recording and given it to everyone and said, you know what, I made a lot of mistakes, but I don't want to edit it. So watch it, and it's too long and I lost my place and there's some things I didn't mention, but that's all I want to do. Instead, you can start really finessing these videos to really add that little bit of visual flair. And I think if you do kind of get the feel of Premiere Rush, you are going to get kind of addicted to playing with this because it is really fun. And I see Julia nodding her head because I think she's probably learned the most about Premiere Rush in the shortest amount of time, because it is fun to kind of build these videos and then play around and see what you can do.